like and subscribe, and share this information with a friend. Well, let's begin. Let me preface this by saying, if you don't know history, then you will not understand what I am talking about. To understand what I am talking about, you have to know what NATO is. You have to know what the Warsaw Pact is. You have to understand sanctions and how sanctions work. So let's begin. As I've stated in the thumbnail, the United States was militarily strong, was a strong country militarily until Ronald Reagan became president. When Ronald Reagan became president, the government became more, let me see a good way of putting this. The government became more corporate. The government became more corporate. A lot of government offices and a lot of things that the government did was sold to corporations, such as, private prisons and things like that. They started making these things privatized. And when they did, the quality went down in every sector that was controlled by the government, that was sold to corporations. The quality of service went down. And you can put the military also went down. Corporations are about profit maximization. They are about profit maximization. So what happened? The United States, during this time, nobody could reach the United States. And corporations realized this because of the oceans. The technology was not there to send missiles and things of this nature to the United States. Also, the United States could put sanctions on countries to slow down their development. So how has this weakened the United States? Just the way I explained it. Our defense now was at that time the oceans. The corporations, they can't reach us anyway. And as long as we keep South America militarily in check, we don't have to worry about anybody. Okay. The United States offense, as time went by, became sanctions because the dollar was used as an international currency of trade and services between countries. So imagine this. Imagine your bank account. You have so much money in the bank. You want to take out money for certain things. Well, the United States controls the dollar bill. And if they put, and a sanction is saying you can't take your money out the bank because we control it. And we can control how much of your money you can use. And if we say, or we fear that you're going to use your money for weapons or for anything that we don't want you to use your money for, we can stop you from doing so. And that's what a sanction is. And a sanction is, you can tell a country, you can buy from this person, that person, that person, but you can't buy from this person. That's why Cuba is in the situation it's in, because it's not allowed to use the American dollar for international trade and services and products. Now, so what Eisenhower Eisenhower, 'feared' was the United States becoming a, what Eisenhower feared was the United States becoming a, what Eisenhower feared was the United States becoming a, what Eisenhower feared was the United States becoming a, what Eisenhower feared was the United States becoming a, what Eisenhower feared was the United States becoming a, what Eisenhower feared was the United States becoming a, what Eisenhower feared was the United States becoming a, what Eisenhower feared was the United States becoming a, what Eisenhower feared was the United States becoming a, what Eisenhower feared was the United States becoming a, what Eisenhower feared was the United States becoming a, what Eisenhower feared was the United States becoming a, what Eisenhower feared was the United States becoming a, what Eisenhower feared was the United States becoming a, what Eisenhower feared was the United States becoming a, what Eisenhower feared was the United States becoming a, what Eisenhower fe uh, becoming an industrial military complex that did, and that the corporations would eventually run the country. And that's what has happened. The United States builds weapons and we sell them. And we sell them. So we know what country can do this and what country can do that. But necessity is the mother of invention. And countries like China, countries like India, and other countries that were purchasing weapons from the United States decided to break these things apart and learn how to make them. And they could also depend on Russia to buy military weapons. So if you were a part of the Warsaw Pact and you were friends with Russia, then of course you can get their technology. One of the ways that Russia, one of the things that broke up Russia was the fact of sanctions. Sanctions hurt Russia militarily to a certain extent, hurt their economy. You can use sanctions to hurt any country's economy. Now, what happened? Understand this. The United States lost the war in Vietnam, guerrilla warfare. Then the United States lost the Afghanistan war. These were all a symptom of things to come. Then the United States put sanctions on Russia and did not expect Russia to attack the Ukraine. But understand this, when Russia broke up, the United States was not supposed to increase NATO, but they did. And they were trying to surround Russia with NATO countries, which are beholden to the United States. Russia didn't allow this and told the Ukraine, no, you can't do this. Because if they allow Ukraine themselves to be surrounded by Ukraine, that would mean that the United States could put missiles in Ukraine and be able to attack Russia. You see, go back to the Kennedy years, the Cuban Missile Crisis, when the United States surrounded Cuba and refused to allow Russia to put nuclear weapons in Cuba. What Russia did is the same thing the United States did to Cuba. But we just stopped Russia from entering. But Russia just stopped Ukraine dead in their tracks so that they would not be surrounded by NATO. Now, what happened? The United States has bases, military bases all over the world. So with about 2,000 or so troops, 300 or so bases. So on these troops, so all you can put on it, and about 500,000 military people. So you can put no more than about 20,000 people per base. Then the United States propaganda had everybody thinking they were so militarily advanced, they could do this, they could do that. Wolf tickets, propaganda. So when Russia hit Ukraine, common sense should tell you that Ukraine cannot defeat Russia. That was already known. So what it was a proxy war, and Ukraine was dependent upon the United States and NATO to come to the rescue. But the thing is this, NATO is weak. Britain doesn't even have a navy. The aircraft carrier, they started it up and the thing wouldn't start. They had to bring it back in port. And a lot of their ships don't work. And I'm going to tell you this. Europe is weak. Europe is dependent upon the United States for everything. So, NATO, so what we have had in Ukraine was a proxy war. The United States and NATO versus Russia. Russia wiped them out. But if you listen to the news, you would think that the war is still going, that Ukraine has a chance. No, Ukraine has no chance. They can't even bargain with Russia. And the reality is, Ukraine used to be a part of the USSR, and a lot of those people there are related to Russian citizens. And Russia doesn't want to do to the Ukrainians what Israel is doing to the Palestinians. That's the only reason why Russia hasn't totally annihilated the place. And then Russia doesn't want to take over another country. That's like you live in one house and now you're buying the house next door. So now you got to take care of both these houses. Russia doesn't want that. Russia doesn't want to take over Ukraine or anybody. Russia does not have a history of colonization, slavery, and exploiting countries. They don't have a history of that. But the expansion of NATO by the United States is what the United States has a history of, trying to take over the world. Now, guess what? Israel is losing. Israel is losing. If the United States with NATO could not defeat Russia, they can't defeat the Houthis in south. The Houthis in the south of Israel, Hezbollah in the north of Israel, no, Hamas in the south, Houthis in the Red Sea, and Hezbollah in the north. Israel is not that big. And the Iron Dome, which was Reagan's Star Wars, was given to Israel because we are dependent on the ocean. But guess what? The technology has arrived where the United States can be hit with missiles. Now, the United States is proposing putting nuclear weapons in Britain, in England. Talking about a nuclear war. And now Russia says, well, if you do that, then we'll put nuclear weapons in Cuba. And guess what? The United States can't stop them. And it would be to China's interest not to have nuclear weapons in England, because any fallout is going to hit China. Another thing, how can the United States military be strong? First of all, you're fighting in the Ukraine. You're supporting them. You are supporting Israel, who is losing also. And then you have the Democratic Party fighting the Republican Party, and the Republican Party fighting each other. And then you have a proposed civil war going on in Texas based on immigrants. So now you're talking about using the military in Texas. A house divided against itself cannot stand. The United States does not have the cohesiveness to fight a war anywhere. And as I mentioned, we have bases spread all over the world. And guess what? They're being attacked. These bases are being attacked. And we're not hearing about it. And we're not hearing about it. Now, countries, you want to know the strength of countries? The most powerfulest country in the world is Russia. Russia is the most powerfulest country in the world because of experience in fighting wars. And along with experience comes intangibles. Intangibles comes with experience. They see things that others don't see. Now, the second most powerful country in the world would be China because of technology. China because of technology. But the experience and the intangibles, China does not have. That's why I rate them second. The third most powerfulest country, well, I would say would be, surprise, Iran with Houthis, Hezbollah, and Hamas. You put that all together, that is a formidable force that is beating the daylights out of Israel. Who I would put fourth, you have to look at India. India has nuclear weapons. So you have to look at India. And after India, or maybe tied with India, North Korea. North Korea is serious. You don't want to mess with North Korea. After that, you just have a lot of, the United States is in there somewhere, but the United States is a paper tiger. I mean, you can't, at the end of all wars, you have to put feet on the ground. You have to put troops on the ground to sustain and take what you have. You can't just drop bombs. You have to put feet on the ground. And that's that. That's it. That's it. And so you can say, and I'm going to tell you this, China is more technologically advanced than the United States, and they have more soldiers, more feet they can put on the ground, and they are well trained, very well trained, as is Russia. And see, once you understand this, once the sanctions don't affect you, then the United States has no offense. They can't control you. And see, that's what the United States is upset about. Losing control. And BRICS, the BRICS summit was in Russia. And more countries want to join BRICS. And as the United States, and as more countries realize that the United States lost the Vietnam War, Afghanistan War, Ukraine War, and they are losing the war in Israel, game's up. Game, set, and match. United States is a paper tiger, and the wolf tickets don't count anymore. And that's why that United States base is being hit. That's why United States bases are being hit. Because first of all, they spread out all over the place, and you don't. Every country in the world, the United States got what 2,000 people on those bases, and most of them are for spying and things like this. And then they are surrounded by countries that have militaries with at least 50,000 people. And you got 2,000 people, maximum 3,000 people on bases spread all over the world. You are a sitting duck. It makes no sense. You tell me, if you disagree with me, you tell me, if you had, even if you had a military of 1,000,000 people, 1,000,000 soldiers, would you spread them all over the world and put 5,000 soldiers on each base? I mean, there's over 6 billion people in the world. And 1,000,000 soldiers spread out all over the world. That doesn't even make good sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. And then China has better technology. United States don't know how to fight a war. And the soldiers in Israel, they're running. They're not telling you that, they're running. Ukraine is taking money that's supposed to be used to buy military weapons and things of this nature, and they're stealing the money. And they're stealing the money and just asking for more money. Zelensky owns 2 yachts worth $70 million. He doesn't make 70. Where in God's name did he get $70 million? But he has them, but they're being purchased through a proxy for him. Now, if you don't, I'm going to leave some links for you to look at. Because I'm going to tell you this, it doesn't take Einstein to figure out the strength of the United States. All you got to do is look at the wars they lost. And I'm going to tell you this, they can't win a guerrilla war. They can't win it. They didn't win the guerrilla war in Vietnam. Israel is losing a guerrilla war now. A traditional war is what Russia is fighting in the Ukraine against the United States and NATO. And guess what? They won. In fact, they won that war over a year and a half ago. And I'm going to tell you the truth right now. You have people moving out of Israel, and you have people moving out of Ukraine. I don't know how many men have died in the Ukraine. I believe it's somewhere over 500,000 servicemen have died in Ukraine. The amount of men that have military personnel that have been deleted in Israel, we don't know. But the people that Israel is deleting are citizens, 26,000 citizens. So if they're deleting citizens, then if they've deleted 26,000 citizens, then you can say that about another 150,000 citizens have been wounded. And then if they don't get the medical equipment and things like that they need, then those people are going to pass away. Also, Israel has lost the propaganda war. All over the world, Israel has lost the propaganda war. The United States is defeated. We have a $30 trillion deficit. Now, we can't loan money to countries and receive interest off that money. The United States, the stronger BRICS get, and the stronger BRICS get, the weaker the American dollar gets. I'm telling you this right now. Buy food and stuff and stock up. Because after this war, after all this is over, Israel has to pay for the damage that it has done in Gaza. And the United States will have to pay also. And as Africa rises, as Africa becomes stronger, and it is growing exponentially, as we speak, it's getting stronger and stronger. South Africa has already asked for reparations for colonization and for reparations for African Americans. And the United States, eventually, the United States and Europe is going to have to pay. So it's just a matter of time. There's going to be bumps in the road, but hey, it is what it is. And if you disagree with me, I mean, don't call me a bunch of silly names. Give me some facts, because I'm going to leave you some links to prove what I'm saying is true. Like and subscribe, share. Talk to you later.